Jesus is condemned to death. Secure identity and the need for comfort. Jesus stands before Pilate, silent. He is condemned, not for anything he's done, but because the crowd cannot receive who he truly is. And yet, he doesn't argue. He doesn't scramble to justify himself, nor does he plead or perform. Because Jesus is secure in his identity, he knows who he is. He's the beloved Son of the Father. And that truth holds, even when the world screams otherwise. From an attachment perspective, this is what a securely attached person can do. They don't collapse under false accusations. They don't need to be seen as good by anyone to know that they are loved. They can stay grounded in the face of disconnection. But that doesn't mean Jesus doesn't feel the pain of it, because even in his divine strength, Jesus reaches for comfort. We hear it just moments before in the Garden of Gethsemane. Could you not watch with me for 1 hour? He longs for connection. He wants to be accompanied. He asks to not be alone. That is not weakness. It's human. It's human attachment. It's the image of a heart that knows love and reaches for it in sorrow. And this is where it gets tender, because many of us were taught to believe that needing comfort makes us fragile, or that being misunderstood means we have to defend ourselves, prove ourselves, earn our way back into someone's good graces. But here, Jesus shows the opposite. He can reach for closeness without shame. You can stand in silence without losing yourself. You can be rejected by the world and still be securely loved and held by the Father. So let's pause to ask, where have I tried to defend myself out of fear of rejection? Where do I hesitate to ask for support, afraid I'll be too much? What would it look like to rest in the truth? I'm loved, even when I'm not understood. The first station reminds us that secure love, divine love, is not shaken by rejection. It sees, it stays, and it gives us permission to reach for others, even as we rest in the one who will never turn away. The second station, Jesus carries the cross. Even the securely loved still suffer. Station 2 is the moment where Jesus accepts the cross. He doesn't resist it, he doesn't fight it, he receives it, knowing full well what's coming. Now, from a psychological perspective, this is stunning, because someone with secure attachment doesn't avoid pain. They face it. But there's still a human component that wants to not hurt. This is not because people with secure attachment are immune from the fear of suffering, but they know that they're not alone in it. They also have an internal sense of strength and confidence, what I call earning our own trust from ourselves, because we've seen how we can meet the challenges in life previously and overcome them. This security comes from being told through healthy connections, not necessarily words, that we are capable. When Jesus takes up his cross, he's doing so in secure union from the Father. The cross doesn't represent a rupture in their relationship. It reveals the depth of their communion. Even in agony, Jesus is anchored in the love of the one who sent him. For us, this is a beautiful challenge. So many of us with anxious or avoidant attachment patterns either cling to others in panic or shut down in isolation as suffering hits. But Jesus shows us another way, a way of trust-filled acceptance, a way of moving forward with the weight, not because he wanted it, but because he trusted the one who allowed it. How? Because he carries it with the Father. Secure attachment doesn't mean the absence of burden. It means the presence of belonging. As we meditate on this station, ask yourself, what cross in life am I trying to avoid rather than just receive? Can I imagine taking it up with Jesus, not alone? The securely attached soul doesn't say, this is easy. It says, I am not abandoned in this. And somehow, knowing that we're not alone in suffering makes them possible. The third station, Jesus falls for the first time. Falling doesn't mean you're failing. Let's just sit with this for a moment. Jesus falls. The Word made flesh, the second person of the Trinity, falls flat under the weight of the cross. We know it was about 90 pounds. This is not symbolic. It's not poetic. It's real. His body gives way. And if you've ever felt like your body, your emotions, your mind just couldn't carry one more thing, I want you to know that Jesus knows this place. In attachment theory, securely attached people can still fall. They get tired, they get overwhelmed. But what's different is that they don't collapse in isolation. They know they can fall and still be loved, still be seen, still be safe, still reach for others. Jesus isn't afraid to fall in front of others. He doesn't try to save face. God doesn't swoop in and say, let's fast forward past the difficult part. There's dignity in the fall because love still holds. And for those of us who learned early that failure equals rejection or weakness equals abandonment, station 3 is holy ground. It's the reparenting our souls have longed for. You can fall and still be securely loved. Jesus' first fall reminds us that secure love isn't proven by performance. It's revealed in our need. Maybe your nervous system's been bracing for decades, afraid to drop the ball, afraid to be seen stumbling. If so, hear this. Jesus falls. And he keeps going, not to prove anything, but because love gets up. Station 4, Jesus meets his mother. The power of safe presence. I don't know about you, but when I think about this station, I think back to the scene in the Passion where Mary has a flashback to her baby boy running and falling. Whoa, it's tough. As a mom, as a boy mom, it hits. Jesus locks eyes with his mother. He is suffering, but he's not alone. Mary does not fix his pain, but her presence anchors him. There are no words exchanged in this station. Just a moment, a look, a glance, the shared knowingness between son and mother. And honestly, isn't that how it often works in moments of deepest pain? Words don't do justice. It's just the present, the being with that the church calls us to. When we are in the midst of people who suffer, I think back to Salvifici Dolores on the Christian meaning of human suffering. A beautiful encyclical by St. John Paul II calls us to compassion, which means to be with. It's the being with that carries the most power. From an attachment perspective, what we're seeing here is co-regulation, the foundation of secure attachment. Mary can't stop the suffering. She can't lift the cross, but she doesn't look away. And isn't this something that is so hard for us as parents, to sit with the suffering of our child, to not want to fix it, to rush in to save them from important lessons of life? And a lot of times when we can't sit with our children in pain, it's not that we can't sit with them, it's that we cannot sit with what happens inside of us when we see them in pain. She doesn't withdraw in fear or collapse in helplessness. She stands. She stays. She is steady and strong. And Jesus, crushed by the weight of the cross, lifted only by the depth of love, receives the strength just from her presence. That's the kind of relationship that builds secure attachment. When someone sees your pain and doesn't flinch, when someone stays, even when it hurts, even when it costs them. When love doesn't try to fix, but simply holds the space with you. In secure attachment, we learn how to borrow strength from the gaze of someone who loves us. That's what happens here. And a sword shall pierce your own soul too. Mary feels it all. but she doesn't shield herself from it. She chooses to feel with him. This station reminds us that we are called to do the same. Secure attachment means knowing, even in suffering, I'm not alone. It's not about someone fixing the pain, it's about being seen in it. Do we allow safe people to witness our suffering, or do we push them away? Jesus wants to be there. Jesus wants to see you. Station 5. Simon of Cyrene helps Jesus carry the cross. It's okay to need help. Simon didn't exactly volunteer. He was pulled in, compelled, drafted into this moment, and yet it becomes one of the most memorable moments in Scripture. Simon shares in the weight of Christ's suffering. He literally touches the cross, not just spiritually, but physically, shoulder to shoulder, sweat to sweat. And this moment gives us one of the most powerful truths of both faith and mental health. We were never meant to carry our burdens alone. Ask any social worker, therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, evolutionary biologist, and they will tell you we are made for connection. Our bodies are built for it. Our nervous systems are built for it. Our brain is primed for it. It's also a beautiful example of how theology of the body and attachment theory meet and illuminate one another. Jesus, fully God, fully human, lets someone help him. Not because he's weak, but because he's fully human. And here's where secure attachment comes in again. A securely attached person knows how to ask for help. They don't collapse in shame. They don't puff up in pride. A securely attached person can also receive help. I don't know about you, but I wonder if Christ really needed Simon's help, or if he wanted to show us and model to us, much like being baptized, how to do it, to show the way. For many of us, especially those with anxious or avoidant attachment, this feels impossible. Maybe you grew up believing, if I need help, I'll be a burden. No one shows up anyway, so I'll just do it myself. I can't trust others with my pain. If that's your inner script, this station is an invitation to rewrite it. Even Jesus accepted help. Simon of Cyrene reminds us that healing requires interdependence. Yes, we lean on God, but we also lean on people, friends, therapists, communities, spiritual directors. We are designed to heal relationally. And here's another thing. I think of this moment when Simon and Jesus's eyes meet. So if we think about co-regulation, there's this thing where if I'm sitting across from you at a table and our brains are hooked up to brain monitors and we just look in one another's eyes, our brains will sync. They will literally sync up. We're on the same wavelength. Isn't that wild? And we can use this to calm one another or to dysregulate one another. I like to think that Jesus had a steadying presence on Simon. I bet even their nervous systems were in sync. It makes me think of all the ways that Jesus can help us calm. It makes me think of all the ways that Jesus has provided other people in our lives to help us calm and invites us to connect with them and let them in. This walk was never a solo journey, and neither is yours. Station 6. Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. The healing power of attunement. In the chaos and violence of the Passion, Veronica steps forward, not with force, not with solutions, but with a cloth. She wipes his face. It seems so small, so tender, so impractical, really. And yet, it is precisely what love looks like in the middle of suffering. This is a moment of attunement. In the language of attachment, attunement is when someone notices your need without you having to explain it and responds to it. A deep knowing and being seen there before you have to ask. It's what every infant longs for in their mother's gaze. It's what every adult still craves in the quiet corners of their heart. Veronica doesn't ask, "Would you like me to wipe your face?" She doesn't wait. She sees his pain and she steps towards it. And Jesus responds, not with words, but with the gift of his image impressed upon her veil. Is that not what secure attachment and healthy relationships are at their core? Allowing another person to make their mark on us without losing who we are. Secure attachment tells us this: when we are seen, truly seen, we leave an imprint. We make contact. We are mirrored. And that mirroring becomes healing. How many of us learn to minimize our needs, to feel shame for desiring comfort or tenderness? Station 6 reminds us it's holy to comfort the face of Christ in others, and it is holy to let others comfort the face of Christ in us. Veronica, in her feminine genius, teaches us that comfort doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. It simply needs to be willing to stay close to suffering, to pay attention, to attune, and to let love heal. But to sit with another person's suffering is not an easy thing to do. It means we've had to do our own work with our own suffering so that we have the capacity to make space for another. Station 7, Jesus falls a second time. The journey isn't linear, and that's okay. Here we are again. Jesus falls again. And maybe the first fall felt understandable, his body just taking the initial shock of the cross. But this second fall, it's the one that gets in our heads. The "I should be stronger than this" fall. The "haven't I already learned this lesson" fall. This is where shame likes to sneak in. But here's the truth we know from both neuroscience and grace: healing isn't linear. Neither is the road to Calvary. In attachment work, we see this all the time. You begin to feel more secure. You grow in trust, and then something triggers you, and down you go. And if your early experience was one of punishment or rejection when you struggled, these stumbles feel like failures, proof that you're too much or not enough. But Jesus, perfectly loved, perfectly secure in the Father, still falls a second time, not because he lacked holiness, but because our bodies are fragile, because suffering is real, because the journey is long. And he shows us you can fall again and again and still be worthy of love, still be walking towards redemption, still be held in the arms of the Father. There's no shame in falling. There's only love that waits to lift you up. Jesus meets the women. Even in suffering, love turns outward. Jesus, barely able to breathe, burdened and bruised, but he turns his attention not inwards, but towards others. This is so hard to do. Anyone who's ever suffered, which is all of us, knows that when we're hurting, we are rent unto oneself, as my health psychology professor would say. Not in a conscious, selfish way, but it's just really hard to focus attention outward when we're so consumed with the pain inside of us. And yet, secure attachment is about seeing the other, attuning and responding to their needs. He sees the women of Jerusalem weeping, and he stops, speaks, cares. This is not Jesus minimizing his pain. This is the fruit of secure love, the capacity to remain present to others, even in our own hurt. In psychology, this is also known as differentiation. It's the ability to know what's yours and what's not, to hold your own emotions while staying attuned to someone else's. It's not people pleasing, it's presence. Jesus doesn't tell the women to feel better. He tells them the truth. Weep not for me. Weep for yourselves and for your children. His empathy is not enabling, it's prophetic. He names their grief, gently expands it, inviting them into deeper awareness and reflection. For many of us, pain makes us retreat. And specifically with emotional and relational pain, we may have learned that connection isn't safe. But Jesus shows us a nervous system that is not shut down in pain. It has opened up, it has stayed relational. And that's what secure attachment does. It keeps us soft, present, open, loving, even when it hurts. This station invites us to ask, who am I being asked to see, even in my own pain? Can I love others without disappearing into their grief or into my own? Because love, real love, does not shut down. It breathes, it sees, it connects, and then it blesses. Station 9, Jesus falls a third time. When you've hit a wall, again. This is the moment where we feel it in our bones. By the way, those are mirror neurons at work. That's how we feel it inside of us. Another topic for another video for another day. The third fall. Have you ever been there? The place where your body, your heart, and your soul just says, I can't. For those with insecure attachment, this kind of exhaustion can trigger shame spirals. What's wrong with me? Why can't I just pull it together? I must be failing. But this station whispers something different. Even the strongest, most secure person in the history of the world fell 3 times. Yes, I know, this is physical falling, but the theology of the body teaches us that the physical makes visible the invisible, the spiritual and the divine. There's a connection. In fact, the same centers of our brain light up in physical and emotional pain. It doesn't really distinguish. In trauma therapy, we know that collapse is not failure. It's the body's way of saying, this is too much, too fast, for too long. Secure attachment doesn't mean you don't fall. It means that falling doesn't mean that you've been abandoned. That even when you've hit the wall again, love is still there. God is still with you. And if you've been trying to carry a burden for too long alone, if you've been hiding your third fall, this station invites you to stop apologizing for being human. I don't think that Jesus gets up because of grit as much as he gets up because of love. The motivation for our actions matter. Am I doing this thing because I feel compelled to or out of freedom? Motivations matter. He knows the Father is still with him even here, especially here. So can you believe that too? That your collapse doesn't disqualify you? It reveals just how close love is willing to come to you. Station 10. Jesus is stripped. You are not what has been taken from you. This moment is raw, visceral, humiliating, even censored from art history. Jesus is stripped. The garments that once offered him dignity, privacy, protection, gone. And isn't that how many of us feel when we're exposed? Maybe your stripping wasn't physical, but emotional. A betrayal that exposed your vulnerability. A diagnosis that stripped you of control or a sense of self for who you thought you were. A moment when someone saw you in your weakness and you felt naked with shame. But here's what this station teaches us. Your identity is not in what you wear, not in what others see. Your dignity is not in your performance, your appearance, your put togetherness, your social media ready side. Your dignity is in the unshakable gaze of the Father who sees you, stripped, shamed, and still says, this is my beloved. In attachment work, this is what we call unconditional positive regard, the foundational ingredient of secure attachment. To be seen at our worst, rawest moments and still be loved. And if you've ever had this experience, you know how healing it is to our soul, to our heart, but also to our nervous system. If you've experienced this, you know that you've had a bodily experience of settledness and calm. If you've been clinging to garments to feel worthy, perfectionism, achievement, people pleasing, likes, followers, the number of letters after your name, the station is your invitation to lay them down. Jesus lets himself be stripped so that you never again have to wonder if your value is conditional. He was exposed so that you can be covered in a garment of grace. Station 11, Jesus is nailed to the cross. The cost and privilege of staying present. This is the part that makes most of us flinch. The sound of the hammer, the spike through flesh, the helpless horror of watching it happen to someone you love. And here's what takes my breath away every time. Jesus does not dissociate. He doesn't take an offer of wine and other herbs that would act as painkillers, that would help him not be fully connected to his body, which would be completely understandable and human response, by the way. Sometimes dissociation is not a choice, but he chooses to stay present in the pain. Psychologically speaking, this is astonishing. Most of us, when faced with overwhelming pain, physical or emotional, go numb. And again, sometimes it's not a choice. Sometimes it is when we self-medicate. Sometimes our nervous system just checks out. We escape into distraction, shutdown, denial. Maybe we just doom scroll to avoid painful feelings. And honestly, some of that nervous system dissociation that's not in our control is mercy built into our biology. It's a survival response. It's not a lack of virtue. But to know that Jesus stayed present makes his sacrifice all the more full. He feels it all. And we know just how connected he was with his body because he says, I can count all of my bones. Have you ever wondered what that meant? I think it just shows how in tune he was with his own bodily experience. In neuroscience terms, he had a lot of insula activation. The insula is the part of our brain that allows us to feel our own sense of our body. Also think that to be fully present, he would have to have this incredible control over his emotions, his thoughts, to be self-regulated. And we know that the ability to regulate our own nervous systems and emotions and secure attachment in our most important relationships is inextricably linked. In a way, his secure attachment to the Father allows him to stay in the pain, to be present to it. This is a hallmark of secure love, the capacity to remain emotionally present in the hardest moments, to choose connection over self-protection, and to know in this moment, Jesus is seeing us, you, me. In this moment, he's connected to us even outside of time. In his mind's eye, seeing our worst moments, seeing our worst shame, still choosing to want a relationship with us because he values us that much at that cost, the cost of the cross. That's how much Jesus wants to be in relationship with you, to be connected to you, to be attached securely with you. He is being poured out. He offers himself willingly for you. And not some cleaned up version of you. This is not the you with filters, but the version of you that still flinches, still hides, still runs, maybe even from yourself. You, my friend, were worth the nails. And he stayed present every moment of the way to prove it. Can we stay present and connected enough to receive it? If that's hard, well, it's hard. If it feels impossible, it might be that we are mapping insecure attachment from earthly relationships onto our relationship with God. And this can happen. Well known. It can be healed, though. We hope that some of the videos on this channel will help you learn how to do that. Healing's a journey. It can take time. Don't let it overwhelm you. For now, just sit with what's coming up inside of you and ask for grace to start seeing your attachments and how they affect how you show up when you're face to face with Christ, and choose to believe that He is a safe attachment figure, even if your body and nervous system don't quite feel it yet. Just know that healing is possible. Jesus has given us the beautiful gifts of neuroscience, psychology, attachment theory, theology of the body, the wisdom of the church, and He has called people to put this together and to help. Station 12. Jesus dies. Love is stronger than death. Attachment never ends. He breathes his last. Sky goes dark. And for a moment, it feels like love has lost. But here's the holy mystery. This is not the end of attachment. This is its perfection. Because Jesus doesn't die in despair. Yes, just before he felt the pain of aloneness. Why have you abandoned me? But at the end, he chose connection. He leaned into his trust of the Father. Into your hands I commend my spirit. That is his final stance. That, my friends, is the voice of secure attachment. The human person is a network of relationships. We are created through a relationship, a type of attachment between two people. Hopefully it was loving. We live in relationships, and hopefully we die into relationship, not isolation. Even in agony, he still reaches for the Father, and the Father receives him and reaches back. For those of us whose attachment history includes loss, especially sudden loss, death, or trauma, this station is like a wound and a balm all in one. Maybe you've known what it's like to cry out and feel no answer. Maybe it doesn't feel safe to reach to your spouse anymore. Maybe you reach and are wounded because your spouse doesn't reach back. That pain because you can't see inside of one another, connect, respond to each other's bids for attachment. Jesus knows your pain. This is the deepest invitation of Station 12, to believe that even death cannot sever the bonds of divine love, secure love, healthy attachment. To believe that you are still held, even in grief, even in the dark. In attachment theory, the presence of a safe, loving other builds resilience. And in our faith, cross is the place where the other does not disappear. The cross is not abandonment. That's why in our churches, it's not empty. It's the gateway to reunion. So if you're grieving, if you're afraid of loss, if your nervous system tenses every time you feel someone pull away, let this station hold you. Let Jesus' final breath be your assurance. You can trust love, even when it looks like death, because love never ends. Station 13. The body of Jesus is taken down from the cross, held in the arms of love. His body, lifeless now, is taken down. Not tossed aside, not discarded, but received, cradled, bargained for, asked for, revered. The Pietà, Mary holding her son, is one of the most powerful icons of grief and love in human history. Here's why it matters for the heart longing for secure attachment. Jesus' last moments are not alone. His final posture is not one of shame, but one of being held. For many of us with attachment wounds, death or trauma come with disconnection, hospital rooms with no goodbyes, grief that had no arms to catch it, or maybe just a pattern of stress and pain we were expected to push through alone as a child, over and over and over again. But here, Mary holds him. We call Mary the new Ark of the Covenant, the one who bore the word within her. And now she receives him back into her arms. This is what secure attachment looks like in grief. There is no rush. There is no shame. There is simply presence. And if you've ever asked, who will hold me when I fall apart? This station is your answer. The arms of the church, the arms of the Father, the arms of Our Lady, the arms of the body of Christ in the community around you. Even death cannot break love's embrace. Even death cannot break secure attachment. Station 14. Jesus is laid in the tomb. Secure love waits in the dark. Secure love leads to hope. The tomb is sealed. The lights are gone. And for everyone watching, it looks like the end. But secure love is not afraid of silence. Jesus enters the tomb in trust, not despair. In attachment language, this is earned secure attachment, a pattern of trust and rest that holds even when the outcome is unclear. When children have secure caregivers, they can explore, fall asleep, take risks because they know someone will be there to catch them. And now, Jesus shows us that this trust doesn't end at death. This is the in-between place, the Holy Saturday place of not yet. Psychologically, we call this the liminal space where transformation is happening, but we can't see it yet. For many of us, these are the hardest moments, the seasons of waiting for healing, the unanswered prayer, the ache that's still unfulfilled. But this station reminds us the tomb is not the it's the hidden place where resurrection's forming. In secure love, it doesn't force its way out of the dark. It waits because it knows Sunday is coming.